People tend to have this incorrect view that primates don't have much interesting coloration. We're most familiar with species like chimpanzees, capuchins, macaques, and gorillas, who at first glance don't have the most striking colors or patterns. But primates are actually one of the most, if not the most, colorful mammalian order. It's filled with vibrant colors and distinct patterns that serve a multitude of interesting functions across a whole host of species that we'll get into. Starting off at a pretty basic example, ringtail lemurs have the notorious striped tails. These tails are used for a variety of purposes such as stink fighting, which is where males will rub scent glands onto their tails and then flick their tails at a rival male as a show of dominance. But the reasoning behind the tail pattern has to do with the size of their groups and the terrain they live in. Ringtail lemurs are unlike many other lemurs because they live in giant social groups that can have up to 25 other lemurs. In these huge groups, it can be difficult to find each other, so these tails can basically function as easy to spot flags. Also, unlike many other lemurs, they spend lots of time on the ground, so while walking, they'll keep these tails raised straight up and easy to spot. On the topic of lemurs, there's one lemur that is unique from all other primates besides us. Blue-eyed black lemurs, as the name might suggest, have blue eyes, similar to some humans. However, the genetic mechanism is not the same between us. There are very few left in the wild, so it's hard to do research on them, and it's not fully understood why these lemurs have developed blue eyes. Another colorfully interesting thing about this species is that they, along with other members of the eulemur genus, are sexually dichromatic. The males are dark black, whereas the females are reddish brown, but they both share the blue eyes. When children are born, they share their mother's coat color to help blend in while clinging to her, but males will start to get darker as they mature. Sexual dichromatism is pretty uncommon in the mammal world, but it's quite prevalent amongst primates. It's extremely noticeable amongst eulemurs, howler monkeys, and some gibbon species, but it's not entirely clear the benefits of dichromatism in primates, especially because it kind of contradicts the sexual dichromatism we see in many bird species. In primates, the males are often the darker ones that are less likely to stand out, whereas females are generally brighter. Something that is well studied in primates is red skin. This sunburnt testicle with a receding hairline and a fur coat is the bald uakari, and its face is red. Really, really red. This redness isn't actually achieved through pigmentation, but by blood. Red skin in all primate species is caused by oxygenated blood passing by near the surface of the skin. In the case of the bald uakari, there are lots of blood vessels and thin skin on the head that really make the red pop. This red coloration can be a signal of health and sexual status. Due to the coloration coming from blood, quick changes such as parasite activity or ovulation could be indicated by the red. This red skin is seen in tons of primates, both male and female. One very notable example is in mandrills. These guys are some of the most colorful primates of all. Males have red, blue, and even violet coloring across their body. In mandrills, the red coloration is a big status symbol. Males are massive and have huge canine teeth, so it's beneficial for them to be able to solve any disputes without having to resort to physical aggression. The red gets brighter with increasing age and dominant status, so it helps to show who's boss. The darker red males are more submissive to the brighter ones to avoid a confrontation that they will most likely lose. However, similarly colored males are more likely to have more aggressive disputes, since there isn't one who's clearly more dominant. Additionally, females seem to prefer brighter reds, as in their children would have an advantage. The blue in mandrills wasn't really well understood for a long time though. The red gets brighter with increasing testosterone, but testosterone doesn't have an effect on the blue, which is achieved through melanin pigmentation. This made scientists think it played some unknown role separate from the red, but a more recent study found that the blue actually perfectly helps the red pop out against the foliage, and that a more saturated blue is associated with dominance. These guys aren't my favorite example of blue on primates, though. That honor has to go to the vervet monkeys. At first glance, these guys might seem pretty plain, but then you might notice that the males have literal blue balls. They also have a tiny little red rocket to go along with it. In these monkeys, it's unclear what the role of this blue is, and it seems to be a bit different across different species of vervet monkeys. It does appear that the coloration is connected to age, but not necessarily dominance. The males are known to do dominance displays known as red, white, and blue displays. In these displays, a male will raise his tail in the face of another male, clearly showing his blue balls, white fur, and red rump, and walk around him. The frequency of these displays increases with more dominance, but scientists haven't found anything about how the colors are connected to dominance. Many female primates also have their own so-called sexual skins. Female chimpanzees will get swellings around the time of ovulation. Basically, tissue around their butt and genitals will swell up and get very pink. Similar to male red coloration, these swellings can indicate health and where the female is in her ovulation cycle. Female chimpanzees will mate with basically all the males in her troop, but the most dominant males will try to mate with females at peak fertility. The swellings can indicate when this is, and thus improve the female's chances of fertilizing their egg with the best genes from the dominant male. Additionally, the swellings could actually help to confuse paternity. The swellings stay for a long time, meaning that females will mate with many males, and thus those males can't be sure that they are not the father of the child that gets born. This helps to decrease aggression towards these infants and might even help to increase paternal care. Color often plays an important role in infant life. Like I mentioned earlier in the sexually dichromatic species, the infants are the same color as the mother, which helps them blend in while clinging. But there are many cases where it's the exact opposite. In many primates, such as these black and white colobus monkeys, the infants look extremely different from both the parents and tend to stand out. This seems pretty counterintuitive because it makes them more noticeable to predators or infanticidal adults. It's been hypothesized that this drastic difference in appearance helps the infants garner more care from other individuals besides their mother. This makes sense in columbines, who tend to have a high rate of allomothering, which is caring for young that are not your own. There are many other examples where it seems like fur coloring would make some primates really stand out to predators. For example, the golden lion tamarin looks almost fake with how brightly colored it is. To us, they may stand out, that's only because we have trichromatic color vision, meaning we have 3 different types of photoreceptors to perceive color, but many of their predators, such as felines, are dichromatic and only have 2 types of photoreceptors for color. To these cats, the tamarin's orange blends in with the background foliage. Mammals can produce only 2 types of melanin, one for a black-brown color and the other for a red-yellow color, so orange is our best green. This is the same reason why tigers are orange. What's really interesting about tamarins, though, is that some of them can see the orange while others can't. Almost all New World monkeys are polymorphic in color vision. Some of them are trichromatic and some are dichromatic. All males are dichromatic, while some females are dichromatic and some are trichromatic. In another orange primate, the orangutan, they all have trichromatic vision, so they're able to spot each other easily, which helps out since they are pretty solitary creatures living in large home ranges. There's a lot of debate over the evolution of color vision in primates. Many think it has to do with being able to distinguish ripe and unripe fruits. Recent studies have found that primate trichromacy is perfectly suited for detecting changes in skin color that come from changes in the blood, such as blushing. As somebody who is mildly colorblind, I usually can't tell when somebody's blushing, so I thought this was pretty interesting. But it seems like this wasn't the initial reasoning behind trichromacy, it just came after. There's still a lot more interesting species that I wish I could talk more about, but many of them are on the verge of extinction and we just don't know enough about them.